Greetings, Flight Sim fans. Captain K-Man here with a quick tutorial, I hope a quick tutorial, to help some of you out that are having troubles getting World Traffic 3 to actually function how you've seen in videos and how described in the book. The quick start guide that was actually released a few weeks prior to the release of World Traffic 3 is actually a really great source of information. But not everybody likes to learn by reading. Some people like to learn by watching and doing. So this one is for you. Now, the first thing you need to do is you need to actually purchase a copy of World Traffic 3. If you already own World Traffic 2, good news. If you bought during the month of March 2017 and beyond, you get your copy of World Traffic 3 for free. Anybody prior to that, you get a coupon code that makes World Traffic 3 only $10. It is well worth the upgrade, and Classic Jet Sims deserves every penny that they are getting. They have done an amazing job on the software, and of course it wouldn't be complete unless we gave a shout out to Bluebell for his amazing work on all the AI 3D models and livery paint jobs that World Traffic 3 uses. So let's take a look at explain.org here. You can grab World Traffic 3 off of the org store here. It retails for $29.95 unless you plug in your coupon code, and then it will either be free or it'll be just $10. Now, if you purchased this previously, you're going to get your coupon code by logging into your account and going to your details and go find the previous order of your World Traffic 2. And inside your World Traffic 2, right about here on the screen, underneath the actual purchase name of the product, you're going to see the code that you will put into your cart here. When you add this to your cart, you'll put that code right here and apply it, and this will change your price to either free or $10. You can't miss it. It's a big old code. Once you purchase World Traffic 3, when you go inside your World Traffic 3 purchase history, you will see the serial number that you are going to be using for your World Traffic key. And I'll show you where that key file goes once you download it. That's going to be your permanent key. I think they were mailed out in World Traffic 2, but this time I was able to just grab my permanent key right out of the org store. Now, you can either download the World Traffic 3 installer from the store, or you can grab it directly from Classic Jet Sims website here by clicking on the updates button here and going over here and clicking on the WT3 installer. This is the full installer here, and it should work on 99% of everybody's computers out there. If you already have World Traffic 3 installed, a older version, you can just use the updater to get yourself up to 3.04. Some bug fixes were thrown out there by Classic Jet Sims. And if you're having problems with both of these, you can use the WT3 package. I don't think any of y'all need to do that. Now, you also need to download the real flight routes here and put it exactly where it tells you to right here in the text. All right, it's going to go into that folder right there, and I'll show you that here in just a moment. And then you actually need the AI craft, okay? And he did have a big long list here, but it's no longer needed because Bluebell, Gablunk, Cuddly 3 has replied to something. Well, go away, Cully 35. We don't need you right now. Anyway, Bluebell has posted his World Traffic 3 AI version 1.01 directly onto the downloads section. You can see the URL up here. And you need to grab all these files. The nice thing about this upgrade here is that all the textures have been converted to PNG, or not PNG. They've been converted from PNG to DDS files, which saves a huge amount of memory, which is supposed to give you a performance boost, especially if your video card is struggling because of VRAM issues. I have a 1080 Ti, so I have 11 gigs of VRAM, so I am not affected too much by that. So, is this going to go away? Are you going to go away, or are you just going to sit there the entire time? It's like, you will answer my reply or else. Well, I'm not going to. So anyway, you go over to download files, and boom, you need every single one of these packages. Download every single one of these. It'll take a few minutes depending on your internet connection, but this is all your aircraft packages, so you're going to need those. All right, so once you have the installer, and once you have all your Bluebell AI aircraft, and you have your world traffic key file, you're ready to start installing everything. So I'm not going to run the installer. That's pretty straightforward. Come on, guys. If you don't know how to run an installer, you shouldn't be on a PC. All right. When you are done installing, you will have a few folders now sitting in your X-Plane 11 root directory. When you run the installer, it will ask you to point to your X-Plane root. When it's done, you're going to have this classic Jet Sims utilities folder. And then under resources, you're going to have in the plugins menu, you are going to have world traffic and world traffic radar. All right. So first off, let's go and deal with the actual classic Jet Sims utilities folder. When you get in here, you're going to have these three folders. You should have these three folders. Don't need to touch anything in here. Navgraph data, you do need to update this with the latest AirAct cycle. If you have a subscription to Navgraph, go out, grab the latest Navgraph data pack, and put it in this folder. All right. So if you're using the Fms Manager, and I'll just load that real quick. Give me just a second here. I highly recommend, if you are a Navgraph subscriber, getting their Fms Manager. It makes updating your add-ons every month so much easier. So you come over here, boom, here's the manager here, and here's all the add-ons I got. I got the IXEG, Jar Designs, Pilot to ATC, World Traffic 2.0 and above, X-Plane 11, and of course X-Plane's GNS 430 add-on packs, which also updates the 777, the Professional 757, 767, all of the X-Craft Embraer, and a whole lot of other planes. Oh, look at this. My Pilot to ATC is apparently out of date. I'm going to go ahead and just update that while I'm sitting here with you fine folks. So while that's doing its thing here in the background, let's bring up our folder again here. And actually, let me bring up another folder here. Let me bring up the downloads folder. Boom. Okay, so I've already downloaded all of the aircraft here. So we're going to put that off to the side for the moment. And I'm going to go into the world traffic folder inside the classic Jet Sims utilities folder right here. And then I'm going to go nowhere. I'm going to stay right here for the moment. It's time to install the aircraft. So what you're going to do is just open up your zip file here. Here's one. Oh, yep, I don't care. Yes, 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 yes. Blah, blah, blah. Give us money. We want your money. So when you open up your zip file, you're going to see the name of the actual zip file right here. You need to go into that folder, and here's your aircraft types and object types. And what you're going to do is just grab them and drop them right here inside your world traffic folder. I'll go ahead and do that here, and it's going to tell me that there's 4 gabillion files that it would like to overwrite because I've already done every single one of these packages. So you can see it right here, planning the plan. There's 818 files, and there's 816 files that need to be replaced. So let's do that. So basically, when you're done, you're going to have this folder here, and this is going to be all of the objects and all of the new DDS compressed texture livery files for your aircraft. Okay, so the basic sim tool is actually ready to go. Now, if you have your previous World Traffic 2 copy still installed, you don't really need to uninstall it, but you might as well just blow it all away. You don't need it anymore. The key that you're going to get off of the org is a brand new key. It replaces the World Traffic 2 key. All right, so you can go ahead and uninstall World Traffic 2. You don't need it anymore. You don't need any of the files that are in there because they're going to be completely and totally replaced by some other files. The going back into the World Traffic folder here, the Real Flights package that you downloaded off of the update page is going to go. Let me see if I can remember. Yes, it goes into your route files folder here. You're going to unpack that, and there's two subfolders inside the zip file. This AFRE, Real Traffic, and the Cargo Tabular. Just bring those folders out of your zip file and put them right in here into your route files folder. That's all you have to do there. All right, and that's it. You now have your aircraft. You have all your flight plans that you're going to need, and you have World Traffic installed. There's one final step we need to do before we go into the simulator, and that is to go into the Resources folder, go into Plugins, go into World Traffic, and you have the World Traffic key.txt file that you got from your purchase of World Traffic 3 off the org store. Bring that text file into this Plugins folder and just drop it right there with your key number inside of it. All right, your key number should be located on your purchase. All right, so be sure that it matches whatever's in here. I'm not going to open this up because I don't need you people hacking into my account and using it. So we're just going to leave that file private and hidden there. But that's really all you need to actually get World Traffic installed. It's pretty straightforward and pretty simple. All right, so we're done there. So let's get rid of that. We'll get rid of that. This is updated. We can close that down. And now we're going to go over into the world of X-Plane here. And show me something. There we go. Took it a moment to realize I was actually in X-Plane. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, we're inside X-Plane. Here we are. Beautiful Nimbus Studio KPHX Phoenix Sky Harbor International. And it looks dead as a doornail, doesn't it? Not a single aircraft, no traffic, nothing running around, and nothing happening out here. So we're going to have to rectify that. Okay, I chose to use Nimbus Phoenix. I know Mr. X has his own copy, but I actually prefer the payware version here from Nimbus Studios. It just looks a little bit more grittier and dirtier. Mr. X is absolutely phenomenal. It's a gorgeous piece of freeware. If you don't want to purchase Nimbus Studios Phoenix, Mr. X's is a great alternative. But we're going to go ahead and use this airport because this is an older airport that came out of the box without the proper data in the airport DAT file needed to make World Traffic 3 work. And I think that's one of the problems a lot of y'all are having. You're not really understanding that World Traffic 3 is only as good as the airport that you're trying to use it at. If the airport has not been properly set up, then you're not going to really be able to utilize World Traffic 3's capabilities. And unfortunately, a lot of payware developers, I would say more than 50% of all the airports that are out there available for your hard-earned money, are not technically done. They're really not finished. Ground traffic routing has been a feature since X-Plane 10.5, I think, somewhere around in there. So I don't think there's much of an excuse that these airports should be released for money without some kind of taxi route in there. It literally takes less than, like Phoenix here took me less than 4 hours to put together, okay? You know, you're a payware developer, you spent hours and hours and hours doing textures and custom work and 3D buildings. You can spend the extra 4 hours to make the traffic routes, all right? It's not a feature that should be neglected anymore because third-party developers are going to rely on these airports to be in a complete status for them to be able to utilize programs such as World Traffic 3, all right? So, and to go along with that, you need to start setting up gates too.
Here's the load sheet for you, Captain.
Oh, thanks.
Have a great flight.
No, I'm not actually flying today, so why don't you go away? We'll go ahead and turn off 3J cabin sounds. I forgot that was running in the background. That was one of my timed triggers going off. So we're not flying today, so go away, Chief Flight Attendant. Nobody likes you. Actually, that was the Load Master. Go away, Load Master. Get off my plane. All right. So anyway, gates. You need gates, and they need to be properly flagged, and they need to be properly set up. all right? And they need the proper airline codes, and airline operations need to be set on them, all that good stuff. And this is something that gets hugely neglected because that's kind of a newer feature. X-Plane 11 really refined the AI spawn engine to use that kind of technology, but it was really neglected in X-Plane 10 by a lot of developers. So that one, I can kind of let that one go. But not having taxi routes, that's ridiculous. Because it made airports basically designed just for one person, and that would be the player. And I think hopefully you'll agree with me. We're all tired of looking at dead airports. We want to see living airports. And for a lot of us, VATSIM is not a solution. I personally I don't like flying on VATSIM. I've had too many negative experiences personally. So I know there's a lot of good controllers out there, but until some things improve, I'm just going to fly offline, especially now that I have a crap ton of AI traffic running around here. So enough babbling. Got to have ground routes, and you got to have gates properly set up, and we'll take a look at that here in WED. We'll take a look at the edited Phoenix file that I did. So first off, we need to actually get some traffic ready to go at this airport, because right now it's just dead. It's a dead airport. I went ahead and deleted all my ground route data and all my parking code definitions just so you can see what it looks like to actually get an airport ready to go. So here we are. So when you're in here, you're going to go up to plugins, you're going to go down to world traffic, and you're going to open up the flight setup page. This is going to bring up this little guy right here. And at the top, you have your flight planning page. You need to go ahead and fill in all your data. I'm a Boeing 737-800 down here. This is the Zibo modified 800 down here sitting there. Of course, that's the Southwest Airlines, and I'm Southwest Flight 437. All this data is going to be utilized by World Traffic 3 to show up on the radar and stuff once you take off, all right? That's what it's needed for. They're also going to want to know your cruising altitude, and they're going to want to know the airport that you're going to. So in this example, we're going from Phoenix. We're going to go down to Dallas, and we'll be flying at 36,000 feet. We're scheduled to depart from this airport at 14:30 Zulu time, and arrival route, blah, blah, blah. This information is slightly important because it helps put you into the pattern properly, but the simulator can survive without this data right here. So just put in an approximate time that you suspect you're going to push back, and just put in the approximate time you think you're going to arrive, okay? Very rarely are you actually going to arrive at the real time because weather and other factors can slow you down or speed you up and get you there too early, get you there late, blah, 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 blah. So moving down here, this is the flight plan loading and generation setup. This is the place where a lot of y'all are screwing up. I guarantee this is where y'all are having a lot of your problems. The reason why there's a lot of people that are complaining that they're not getting any traffic at the airport, or they're getting really light amounts of traffic at airports that should be bustling with traffic. So there's some things you need to take into account here, and you need to make some decisions on how you want World Traffic 3 to operate once we're on this screen here. So first off, you need your maximum number of flight plans to generate. Okay, it recommends max setting. If your computer is an older PC that's got some hardware that needs some upgrading in a really bad way, setting this to max as recommended is not recommended. Every one of these flight plans takes time to process, and if your PC is not up to snuff, you're going to see long load times, lag, and stutter. Now, I've been able to hammer out all 10,000 flights, but at really super mega airports like maybe JFK or LAX, I might, depending on what my frame rate looks like when I'm done, I might pull this slider down from 10,000 and bring it down to more like 6,000. Okay, I prefer to have my traffic at, I meant 75%. So there we go. So at 75%, and I have 70% of my gates will be filled up whenever the traffic spawns in. Okay, so adjust these sliders to your system specifications. Just because this works on my machine does not mean it's going to work on your machine. And you may have a more powerful machine than me and might be able to crank this up even more. But I don't recommend going 100%. Because especially on the gates, because no gates and no airports are ever 100% full. That makes congestion at an airport way too much, and it's very unrealistic to have 100% of everything just going on at the airport. So these are settings I like to see. It makes the airport look really thick and juicy with aircraft all over the place. Now, your last thing here is the flight plan load radius for arrivals and your departure airport here. That means once you arrive on scene, once you get within 50 miles of the airport, and of course we're already within 50 miles of the departure airport, it's going to spawn traffic within a 50-mile radius of your airport. That includes every single small single strip airport and all other medium size, small size, and large size airports are going to spawn traffic within a 50 nautical mile radius. This setting right here is what can really trash your computer if it is not up to snuff. All right. Try lowering these settings all the way, even down to minimum if you need to get your frame rates to get back up above that magical 30 plus FPS. Typically, right now, if I was to unpause this, I'd be doing about 55 frames a second out here. When I turn on my traffic settings, it lowers my frame rate to around 40 frames per second. Which is perfectly fine. 30 and above, you are rocking it. All right. So, it's nice if we can, if we could always have 60 frames per second, but you only need 30 for a nice, smooth, believable flight. So this is the settings that I use. Now, here's the part I was talking about earlier where I think you guys may be screwing some stuff up. So there is a second menu. And I think a lot of people are forgetting that there is a second menu. All right, I've got mine programmed with some hotkeys here. And let me show that real quick here. Let me go up here under keyboard, under CJS here. You have world traffic, and I highly advise you set up some hotkeys here. All right. So I got activate ATC, previous ATC. I got all these menus set up here using my function keys. F9, F10, 11, and 12, and then hold down the shift key to do everything else. You want the activate key command menu definitely on a hotkey, and you definitely want resynchronize, and you are going to want your world traffic radar here to be toggleable also. So F9 turns mine on. All right. Set these up however you want. Just be sure you do set them up. They are going to be very useful to you. So we need F12 right now. So done. We're going to come in here and we're going to push F12. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and unpause here so we can actually see the rest of the key command window. So here's the key command window. Down here under enable, disable regions, all right, use your arrow keys here to page down. We're going to enable that. Now by default, it's going to be lit red, okay? Both these are going to be lit red like this. But depending on how you want World Traffic 3 to operate, you need to turn on one of these or both of these. And let me explain how that works. AFRE real traffic is just that. It is utilizing the real world traffic schedules of every major airline. Well, not every, but most major airlines across the entire globe. All right. Everything is in there. AFRE real traffic also includes all of the flight schedules of the cargo tabular file that's down here below that. One may be asking, well, why, if the cargo tabular is inside this, why is it here? That's because if you use auto-generated traffic, they do not have cargo scheduled routes. So you have to turn on the cargo tabular here while turning AFRE off. Okay. Now, it's up to you to decide which way you want it to do this. There's a reason why you do this. Maybe your airport doesn't have a lot of good real-world traffic schedules inside the main traffic file. So you're going to need to use auto-generated traffic so you can get some kind of busy activity at the airport. Okay, most major airports, either in Europe, the UK, or the United States, or Australia, you're going to have a full flight schedule in here. This is my preferred method of doing that. So because I'm using AFRE real traffic here, all right, I'm going to go ahead and use the backspace here to get rid of that. When I am setting up these three checkboxes here, I want to turn off this middle one that says auto-generated flights, uncheck if only using user-defined flight plans. Okay, that AFRE real traffic is a user-defined flight plan. So you need to turn this off or else you're going to bring your computer to a screeching halt. It will complain, catch fire, and then jump out the window screaming and run down the street. And you will not be able to catch it. You will have to completely shut X-Plane off if you can actually get up to the X button before the entire simulator freezes and no longer responds to you because it's trying to load 10 billion flight plans and there's no way your CPU can keep up. So if you're going to use the user-defined AFRE real traffic, you need to turn this off. You can leave the other two on. Okay, this one here, auto-generate ground routes. Basically, it's going to look at my departure and my arrival airport, and if there's no ground routes generated, it is going to start generating them before it does anything else. All right. And then the last checkbox here I have turned on, augment user-defined flights at airports with auto-generated flights. What this is going to do is it's going to go out and it's going to create flight plans from the AFRE real flights region that we have turned on right now, but it's also going to bring in other traffic to help kind of fill in the empty spaces like general aviation traffic and stuff like that. So I always leave that ticked on myself. Now, in a perfect world, if your airport has all the ground routes set up and it has a taxi network and all the gates around the airport have been defined, the only thing you should have to do to get traffic in your airport once you have all these things set properly is click Create Flights. All right, we're not going to do that yet because we don't have anything with Phoenix set up right now. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to go ahead and just, even though if I click Create Flights, it's going to go ahead and start auto-generating Phoenix for me, but I'm just going to do it manually here by using the ground route generator box here at the bottom. I'm going to type in KPHX, and I'm going to click Create Ground Routes, and my computer is going to kind of grind to a halt here. All right, so first it's going to be like, you don't have any ground routes at this airport, bro. Would you like to make some? It gives you a rough estimate based upon your system's capabilities of how long it's going to take to make a route. This can be anywhere from 1 minute, and I've seen some people say it took up to 60 minutes for them to generate ground routes. I don't know if it's because they're using a toaster for their computer, but apparently that is a thing. So just read the messages here. So we want to generate, boom. So we're going to see a progress right here. There's 116 gates that I've defined at this airport. The original airport only had 20 gates set up by Nimbus. The rest of them were just designed to look pretty. So I went into the AFCAD file and set up all the rest of the 116 gates. And then I assigned all the appropriate airlines to each one of those gates so that they would spawn in where they're supposed to. And then I opened up the DSF overlay file with overlay editor, and I deleted all the static traffic that Nimbus had added to his airport. I did a little bit more also. I kind of fixed his taxi routes that were not matching the WED file and stuff like that, just so my AI will actually taxi along the taxi lines here. So right now, it is on gate number 51 of 116 as it chews its way through everything here. You can see why this takes a long time, especially if your airport has 200, 300 gates at it. There are some airports in Europe that are just massive, giant airports. So my frame rate right now while it's doing this is about 2 frames a second. So that's perfectly normal. That is what the simulator is supposed to be doing right now because World Traffic 3 is pretty much utilizing 100% of the CPU cycle times right now to calculate all these ground routes that it's currently creating from the ground route map that I created in my airport data file. So it is almost done, waiting, come on, you can do it, the little tiny engine that could, almost there, still going. If the screen turns black, like my screen just did, I don't know if it's going to show up here on the video here, it might. Nope, it didn't. If your screen goes black, don't panic, don't freak out. That's perfectly normal too. It will blank out and then come back up while it's generating traffic. So we're on 104 here, 106 of 116, almost there. As soon as it's done, my frame rate's going to shoot right back up to about 50 frames a second. One more gate, one more gate, one more gate. Boom, it's done. Now you'll notice my frame rate has returned to normal. So this airport is ready to go. What just happened is World Traffic 3 just made some files, and we're gonna go over here. I will show you in the folder. Let me go here. In your World Traffic folder, there is a ground routes folder, and there's an arrival and departure folder. If World Traffic 3 was successful, you're now going to see the ICO for your airport here, and there's going to be a crap ton of files in here. This is every single ramp start, every single gate start that I programmed into the airport data file now has a ground route for both arrivals and departures. The other file that was created was the parking definitions file here, and this generated every gate that I programmed, and it basically defines what airplanes can spawn at those gates. All right, so fantastical. Why don't we get into the simulator here and create some routes? All right, so I'm going to do 10,000 routes here, 75% traffic, 70% of the gates will be filled, and I want all airports within 50 nautical miles to spawn in traffic. I have AutoGen ground routes turned on, which won't be necessary because we've already done it manually down here, and we want to augment our user-defined flights. So here we go. The simulator will freeze while it prepares the flight data. Waiting to process. Waiting to process. So it just reloaded all the flight plans, and it's resyncing. It's going to load all the ground routes now. This does take a moment. When it is done synchronizing, we will start to see airplanes spawning in at all the gates. And it's done. There they go. You see all the traffic that just popped up? Now, while it's popping up traffic, you may notice some stuttering and jerkiness. Give it about 2 to 5 minutes for all the traffic to spawn all over the area. When it's done, voila, you have traffic, and they're going to start doing their thing. So we got a nice busy airport today here. Looks fantastic. Oop, there goes a plane right there. Look at him going, as he pushes back and runs over the guy in the cart because the guy in the cart was an idiot. You can start to hear his engine spooling up down there. So there he goes. Now I'm going to do a completely separate tutorial on how to set up an airport with WED. Okay, I'm gonna show you what a completed airport looks like. I'm going to show you this file here, but my tutorial on how to actually make that file become a reality will be the next tutorial that I will publish after this one. So this guy is done pushing back, and the little pushback tug is going to let go of him here in a second. I saw the little bar drop. He's going to pull back to where he came from. This guy's going to spend another about 30 seconds sitting here running final checks, and then he'll start taxiing to whatever active runway the control tower just assigned him. Now, when you're actually ready to fly, when you're done doing your cockpit prep, and you've briefed yourself and everything's programmed into your FMC, you're going to have to bring up World Traffic 3's air traffic control, and let me see what my hotkey was there. I want to bring up the Atc menu, so Shift F11 for me. So I'm going to go Shift F11, and it's going to ask you which runway do you want to take off on. Now, this airport has 3 runways, but you'll notice one of them is missing. That's because I've created an airport operations file for this airport. The winds are pretty calm out here today, so anytime the winds are below 5 knots, Phoenix Sky Harbor International always lands traffic from the west. They come in from the west and they land on either runway 8 or runway 7 left. Now, the reason why runway 7 right isn't showing up is because that runway has been designated as an arrival runway only, so you can't depart from that. So I want to depart from runway 8, so I'm going to use my arrow keys to select runway 8. And there they are, giving me my SID, max 3, and there's my taxi route, Delta Tango Charlie, Charlie 5, Bravo, Bravo 3. All right. So backspace will get rid of that menu, I think, or it'll disappear on its own here in just a second. There it goes. All right, so the computer has now assigned me a taxi route, and it's now recognizing my airplane as part of the airport's traffic. So that means airplanes that are taxiing like him should pay attention to where I am, and they will give way or pause if I am taxiing. All right. Now, if you want to fly a different SID departure, you can. World Traffic 3's ATC is not really useful for other than telling World Traffic 3 what runway you want to take off from and what runway you want to land on. All right. But, you know, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference if you do a different star arrival or a different SID departure. You might mess it up a little bit, but it's not really going to be that devastating to your flight experience. All right. So, give me just a second here to load up World Editor, and I'll show you what this airport's taxi route looks like. All right. Give me just a second. All right, so here's the airport DAT file for Nimbus Studios KPHX. This is what it looks like. Now it has been greatly modified by me for use with World Traffic 3 because when we first got it, it pretty much looked like this and was not really ready for prime time. So like I said, there was only like 20 gates available, so I actually went in and I added every single one of these gates, and they are where they are supposed to be in the real world, and I made sure to line them up with Nimbus's 3D jetway objects so that they at least give the illusion that they're parked at the jetways, ready to receive passengers or get them off their planes. So we had to set all of these up, and then when we were done with that, we had to actually build our route package here, which looks like this. If I go over here and turn off signs, runways, ramp start, we'll leave ramp starts on. We'll turn off the markings and the lights and the ATC, and we'll turn off windsocks too. And there we go. That is my taxi route file. This is what my taxi route file looks like. You can actually go over here to ATC Taxi plus Flow and see what that's going to look like to World Traffic 3. All these red parts are areas that tell World Traffic AI do not go into this area if that particular runway is in operation. And this is all fully configurable. You can even configure what direction aircraft can taxi. This is the center point of the airport here with the bridges going over the highway. Any traffic that needs to go northbound to runway 8 and runway 26 is going to use the left side, and any traffic that needs to come southbound is going to use the southbound side. And once they get down here, then they're free to go left or right as they choose. Same thing up here. So you'll notice that at each one of my gates, let's turn off this, you'll notice I have these little tiny taxi stubs sticking out here. This is for each one of these gates during their pushback. Technically, in theory, the push tug is supposed to push them back to the starting points here and then end them up on, this will be the first point that it goes to during a push, and this is the final point that it goes to during a push. So you'll see I have created that pushback network here for each one of those aircraft to do their thing. All right. This is very important that you put these taxi paths into the ramps. All right. They may not have a name associated with them, but they need to have these, because if you don't, this plane is going to push back. It'll push straight back. All right. If it doesn't have a path, it'll sit there. And then once it taxis, it's going to look for the very first waypoint. And if that first waypoint is like, say over here in an extreme example, this guy is going to drive straight across the ramp and go through all the 3D objects to get to that dot. He wants to get to that dot, and he isn't going to let anything get in his damn way. So you need to create the ramp taxi paths too. I think a lot of people may be neglecting that, and it's going to make your AI traffic look really funky when they start doing their thing. But anyway, I don't want to get into too much detail here. I'm going to save this for another tutorial. The next tutorial here on how to actually build this file and what everything means here. Oops. Be sure I do not save this. We'll talk about taxi route information, what it's supposed to look like. We'll talk about the gates and what they're supposed to look like in order to get that beautiful traffic that you just saw taxiing around. And that's it. Hopefully you guys that are struggling out there found this tutorial easy to follow, easy to use, and I hope you have beautiful success stories. Now there's one thing I forgot to show you, and of course I've already shut down X-Plane and I don't want to start it back up. But just remember, if you don't want to use those regions during your traffic generation, be sure that both your regions are red, okay? Turn them red. Well, hang on. Let me rephrase. Let me stop. If you're going to use auto-generated routes, make sure that the AFRE real traffic file is lit red, meaning it's not selected, but you can turn on the cargo tabular one because that's going to have all your cargo flights on it. All right. And once you do that, be sure all three of those check boxes in the center panel are checked. All right. And then let it rip. All right. It'll start generating all that beautiful traffic for you. They won't be real world flights, but it'll make the airport believable. So it'll get you immersed in the traffic, and you'll have to wait in traffic and wait for planes to pass and wait in sequence before you can take off and, get sequenced for the landing and all that good stuff. So that's pretty much it. That was just a little tiny thing I forgot to show you guys. So that's it. Hopefully, like I said, this was useful, and you can start using World Traffic 3. Until next time, Captain K-Man signing off. Have a good one, everyone.